Hello, good morning. So it is Saturday morning. It's almost 9. Been having a very slow morning. Got my coffee. It is day 4 maybe in the United States. If you're new, I just moved back to the US after 2 years living in Spain, temporarily back in the United States. But I have a couple weeks before I start my new job, and so I'm going to take advantage of that time, hopefully, as much as I can. I've had a lot of, obviously socializing the past few days, but I think today I don't have anything on the agenda right now, and I'm really hoping to keep it that way because I'm so exhausted. And I have a cold. It's pretty mild though, so I thought, what better time than to do a 40 hours and 7 days language challenge? Why not? So my last video actually, I think, was a study with me little German study vlog, and I did this thing with the Forest app where I did the whole tree, I did a 120-minute timer, and I mentioned that I wanted to do it for all of my languages, and it occurred to me that that would actually be the perfect way to do a 40 hours and 7 days language challenge, because if you did all 3 every day, that would be over 40 hours. I'm gonna aim for all 3, so we'll see how it goes. I do have a lot of things that I want to do. I made a little list. There's an article in this magazine that I got in Switzerland. It's relatively easy. Most of the articles in here are relatively easy because I think true crime is usually written in a very straightforward way, and you're kind of describing relatively, it's very action based, So even though I don't necessarily fully support the true crime industry, I think this is a good source of reading material. I do want to work a lot on my Spanish course because I've been neglecting that so much. I would like to write in Spanish most days, if not every day. I always say that, and I always struggle to actually do it. I want to read my Sailor Moon book in German, and I would like to catch up on Witch Hat Atelier, which is the anime that I'm watching. I'm watching it in Spanish first and then in German. So I have, I don't know, maybe 5 episodes to catch up on. So approximately an episode a day. I do want to, I got an office chair, a desk chair at IKEA yesterday, so I still need to put that together. So first of all, I think I'm going to drink my coffee and watch my first Witch Hat Atelier episode in Spanish, and then I'll probably listen to an audiobook while I put the chair together. So we will start our Spanish 2-hour block now, I think, and see where we end up. Hello. Finished the 2 hours of Spanish. I am 62% through this book that I've been reading it on my Kobo, but then I listened to it while I was building the chair, and then I was reading and listening to it at the same time. I was nodding off so badly when I was finishing up the timer, so I think I'm gonna take a little nap, and then we will move on to our next language.
Recently did Korean. I did 2 comprehensible input videos from Korea. I really like her videos. Her comprehensible.
Hello, we are back. It is 1:30, so I had a nap, watched some unrelated stuff in both English and Spanish, actually, come to think of it, but ate some lunch. Now we have a Red Bull. I wasn't gonna drink a Red Bull today because, lots of caffeine, but this is where we're at. It's where we're at as a society here in this room. I am gonna watch the episode of Witch Hat Atelier that I watched earlier in Spanish, again in German, and then we are going to start reading this article, or story really, I guess. We're currently set up on a rolling cart because I haven't borrowed the table that I'm going to be using for a desk yet. We got our new chair, nice and a little bit more comfy long term. It's time to start our German timer. Okay, so I read this page up to here. There's 4 like sections of this article, so I'll just try to read a section a day and then move on to another article. I definitely looked up a lot, but I think for the most part I could have followed the plot of the story without looking things up. There's definitely a lot that I would have missed, and I'm sure a lot that I did still miss. But this is actually a pretty good story for learners, I guess. So I'm going to take a little break, and then we'll be back.
Dessa vez eu vou fazer a coisa mais difícil do mundo.
Okay. Pretty much accidentally just watched the Portuguese show for the whole 2 hours. I was gonna just watch an episode, but then I realized that the first season all of the seasons actually only have 6 episodes. And so I've been watching the show for ages, like truly years probably at this point. So I was like, honestly, let me just finish it because I was like getting into it. So I finished the first season, obviously not like the whole thing, but it's really a very, very cute show. If you like kind of teen shows, very endearing. It's very similar plot-wise to like 13 going on 30, but better, like much more endearing, much more wholesome. I do have a headache now, so I think I'm gonna take some medicine, and it's like 8 p.m, so just hanging out until it's time to go to bed, I guess. I do need to do some stretching. I've been very, very sedentary today. It has been pouring all day, so not a whole lot of activity options, but yeah, tomorrow I do have some plans later in the day tomorrow, so I need to be a little bit more on top of getting things done in the morning instead of today where I just took all day to do things. But that's okay. That's what I wanted to do today. Just straight up chill all day long, and that's what we did. So yeah. Good morning. So it is about 10:40. I'm an hour into my Spanish block. I just did some homework for my course. We're still on indirect style. Almost done though. So I think for the rest of the Spanish time I'm just going to read from the short story collection that I'm trying to finish. I should be able to finish it today, but if not, tomorrow hopefully. I have about an hour and a half left. I think I'm going to do one more language in the morning. Like, I think I will finish the Spanish block, take a shower, and then do one more language, and then I have some plans in the afternoon, so I'll have to do the other one in the evening, but we shall see. I'm gonna get to reading. Okay, I have to admit, I did fall asleep while I was reading, so I have about half an hour that I will have to read later, but I wanted to do that anyway because I wanted to finish that book, so yeah. But now we are going to do 2 hours German really quick before I leave, and hello. It's the next day. I have a terrible headache. I don't know if it's from the weather or if I'm getting a sinus infection, or I don't know. But anyway, I do still want to do things today. Yesterday, I didn't finish everything. I only did half an hour of Portuguese. Not too bad. So for now, I don't know. I was gonna finish my Spanish book first thing, but that doesn't feel like a good headache activity. I might still try it though. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, scratch that. We're starting the day over. It's 12:40 now. I took a nap, feeling a little bit better. I'm gonna drink some more caffeine. Had a little snack, some apples and caramel spread. I asked on the mini immersion Discord about recommendations for Spanish content from Ecuador because I have very, very little exposure to Ecuadorian Spanish. I think Cynthia Novillo is maybe the only one that I have watched very much of, maybe. So anyway, someone recommended a YouTube channel and a game show that's on YouTube. Good God. So I'm gonna check those out. Oh, I need to start my timer. Hello, welcome back. We are on Tuesday, or day 4. I think we're on track, probably. Since this is split up over 2 weeks, I kind of awkwardly have 2 forests to show, but this is the 23rd and the 24th. Yesterday is on a new forest. Yeah, we're about half an hour behind, which technically we're not because I have been doing like immersion things that weren't counted, but for what we wanted to accomplish, we are about half an hour behind, but that's okay. I did reserve a study room at a library today because I've been having a lot of trouble reading. As you may have seen the past couple days, I keep falling asleep. So I have about 40 minutes left of my one Spanish book, and then I'm also going to take my Spanish nonfiction book that I've been working on for weeks, if not months at this point. I just haven't been putting time in to reading it, and I do want to do that. I do really like it when I read it. So yesterday I finished this article. I did read 2 sections because they were very short sections. The last one especially I really struggled with because it was more about like the court cases and stuff that resulted from this situation. So this is the story of a midwife and some other people in this town was part of Austria, if I understood correctly at the time, before, during, and after World War I. And so this midwife had heard from a lot of women in the town, obviously about how miserable their lives were, that they were being abused by their husbands, all this stuff. So she starts, kind of providing solutions, as it says, to that. And then particularly after the war, when they had kind of had a glimpse of life without most of the men in their town, they kind of especially took matters into their own hands after the men came back and were, largely super traumatized and even more harmful than before. Super interesting article, especially I think in the current context of them trying to get rid of no-fault divorces and stuff like that in so many areas. Is kind of like, do you really want to do that? There's a reason why they put this in place to begin with, and it wasn't out of pure generosity, kindness of heart. I think the next article I'm going to read is this one. Well, where is Jocelyn Smith? I believe it's from South Africa. I think it'll be good to get a little change of scenery. I mean, I am very happy in my room here hanging out with my cat, but you can always use some fresh air. It's also finally not raining. First day in since I got here pretty much that it's not raining. I'll take what I can get. I think it's supposed to rain again tomorrow, and then I think we're supposed to be done. I think that's all the updates I had. Oh, okay, so I've been in a show mood this week also, which has been unusual for me. I haven't been into shows in a year at least. after I finish the first season of that Portuguese show, which I do want to continue. There are 3 or 4 seasons, I think. I am taking a little break from it to watch 3%, which is a show that actually I've always wanted to watch even before I started learning Portuguese, but I had kind of forgotten about it, and so now is the perfect opportunity to watch that. So I think yesterday, I'm pretty sure that's all I did for Portuguese, was just watch that show. But it's been really good so far. I'm watching it using Language Reactor, but with only Portuguese subtitles. But Language Reactor just makes it nice that you can just mouse over the word and see the definition. So I don't need any translations or anything for the full subtitles, but it is really nice to be able to look things up that quickly and unobtrusively. So then for German, the next season of the show that I was watching, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but it's okay. It's supposed to be coming out later this week, but in the meantime, I started watching this show called Kits, which I actually had started. I watched the first episode of it years ago, and so I just watched the first episode again last night, and it's okay. I think it'll be fine to watch, just, you know, for language learning. Not something I think this is probably going to be like the best show ever, but I do feel like I'm making good progress with German because I really just haven't been putting enough time in, which I knew that, and I was kind of okay with that, but I was getting discouraged, I think, early this year about how little I understood of things. But I remembered back when I first was taking Spanish seriously, or first taking language learning seriously at all. I will kind of always remember this month. I'm pretty sure it was November of 2021 when I finally decided, after like 2 years of like learning languages like off and on, not including a whole lifetime of theoretically wanting to learn languages before that, but I did a challenge and I did a video of trying to study for an hour every day, or just do languages for an hour every day for the whole month, which, you know, now of course sounds like child's play compared to what most people in the community do, but at the time that was like revolutionary for me. That was way more than I had been doing at any point before, and it, surprise surprise, made a huge difference, and it was like really a breakthrough of for my Spanish. It made such a huge difference, and so I think I just needed to have that also with German, where I just actually put in the hours, and lo and behold, that makes a huge difference. Not that these like 3 days made all the difference, but that in combination with having put in more time recently, yeah, I think hopefully we are on a good path. I have like 2 more weeks and then I have to start, you know, working full-time again, so we'll see how much I'm able to keep these things up, but hopefully we'll get a good kickstart here and be able to carry some of these habits forward. So anyway, I've been yapping for way too long. We'll catch up at the library. Hello. So I did film a little bit at the library, but I was trying to be quiet so you couldn't hear anything that I said. But I did finish the book that I was reading in Spanish. Absolutely loved it. Highly, highly recommend if you read in Spanish. It hasn't been translated into any other languages yet, but hopefully at some point it will be. But anyway, I think I'm going to call this vlog here and make another vlog for the second half, basically, of the week, because it's already, 20 minutes. So we will see if I'm able to catch up on the little bit behind that I am. So for the 40 hours, you only have to get 5 hours and 40 minutes a day. So the 6 hours is kind of an overshoot. So to be on schedule, we would have 22 hours and 40 minutes. So we are about an hour behind. So not too bad. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week with the second half.